What a crazy game. Team Liquid looking really good. Good thing I already got all their resumes shipped out last week. That XU guy looked pretty good though. His resume's just not. It's not popping. All right, how do I fix this? Oh, Rafa and Joshi are online. Let's try giving them a call. Hey, Rafa, Joshi, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello. Hey, what's up, guys? Am I catching you at a good time? I know you're in the middle of a series, but do you have time for a quick chat?
Yeah, we actually just finished our first game, so this is a great time.
Yeah, I was watching. That was really good. That was a good game. Team Liquid popping off. I've already shipped out a couple of their resumes, though, but there's one player in that game that I wanted to talk to you about, because I have this resume for a Lawrence XU. And I don't know. I'm struggling. I'm struggling here because I have a lot of information on him. But I just it's lacking a little bit of pop. I don't know how to add something exciting on here. So I'm wondering if you guys are free to help me out with this.
Yeah, does he really live at 123 address?
Oh, this is just, I can't give out his address right now, so that will be changed, of course. But I wanted to go through start off going through just his history, his past with you guys, and kind of get your thoughts on him as a player, just so I know that at least the information that's already on here is correct. So I have him starting at UC Berkeley, playing as a collegiate jungler back in December of 2018. Is that correct?
Yep.
As far as I know, yeah.
And a majority of the 2019 season as well.
Okay, awesome. So, what was he known for, Rafa? Like as a jungler back in his collegiate days, do you remember much?
He was a Lee Sin master, man. Between Lee Sin and Graves, those were his two signature picks in collegiate, and I don't think there's many junglers that could take him on. It really had to come down to how well the solo lanes could play, and so I remember significantly in the PAC-E tournament that I casted back in 2019. He was by far the best jungler, but when they went up against Arizona State University, Kopari, the mid laner of ASU, just like pretty much 1v9 the game. And so it was a little too much for XU to handle, but he still played admirably.
Sure. So early in his collegiate career, maybe wasn't in 1v9 territory, but still impressive performance, right? Okay, so cool. I feel good about his collegiate background then. I think this is decent. Then I have him playing for a couple different amateur orgs. You guys know anything about his amateur career?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing where he really got his break was playing for Cloud9 amateur, and where he got to play alongside a lot of the people who we saw playing for Cloud9 fairly recently. He looked really good on that roster. It's kind of like one of the main carries alongside everybody else. I remember the Lawrence duo, Speedo now, just going by Lawrence up at the top side, constantly having a lot of pressure on the map. And just in general, I mean, I feel like he's fairly consistent, right? He plays a lot of Lee Sin, plays a lot of Graves. We saw some Nidalee during that period as well. But anything super aggressive that he's able to create a lot of pressure on is always something that XU loves to play.
And are there any notable placements or anything I'm missing here, Rafa? And like, what was his peak? What was he able to accomplish in his amateur career and kind of background and history?
Well, so when he decided that he wanted to pursue being a professional player, he dropped out of UC Berkeley and he just sticks to the grind. I think it was season 10, so 2020. And that year, I believe he hit like top 25 on the ranked ladder.
Wow.
For Challenger.
Pretty good.
Yeah. So, and then afterwards he made looking for team posts, immediately got hit up by Cloud9 and Tails in particular saying, hey, I want you on this amateur team that I'm putting together for Cloud9 next year. And
yeah, I have to imagine he used at least 3 Ys in that hay as well, which lets you know they're serious.
Hey.
that's a lot of Ys. All right, so that brings us up to current then. So I have started in collegiate, went on to play for various amateur organizations, Cloud9 Amateur, Conviction, Fruition, and now currently with Dignitas QNTMPAY Academy. Now this is, correct me if I'm wrong, his first split in Academy, right? Like this is the first time we're seeing him on this stage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I still have best Lee Sin NA, always wins the Baron 50-50s. Banger tweets too. If you haven't checked out his Twitter account, I don't know if you guys follow him on there, but he's got some bangers.
Yeah. I mean, just seeing how he's been able to play so far, you recognize that he's not just a player. He's also got a lot of other cool things that he does off the Rift, and we get to see a lot of that coming through on the Twitter. And I know it's not the same kind of like Utah engage like you always look for, Mark, but it is still something where he's always able to be aggressive and try and find a lot of ways to make the rest of his team look good.
Sure, and I'm
He's
happy
not
that
from Utah. It can't be the Utah engage.
It can't be a Utah
I
engage
have
if you're
him
not from Utah.
I have him from California, not Utah,
Correct.
so I don't know about that one,
Correct.
Joshi.
They're contiguous.
Oh, sure. But I'm happy that you brought up outside of a player because I'm not gonna lie. I love talking about player stats and player performance on resumes, but I need something to make this pop if I'm really trying to sell them to a team right now. So what's some fun stuff I can put on here that kind of fleshes out XU? Who's the man? Who's Lawrence the guy?
Well, let's start by going back to his collegiate career, I think, right?
Okay.
Not only was he a big player for the Berkeley team, but he also has a lot of responsibilities with the club that he's been a part of for a long time. And,
Oh, okay. What's the club?
Gaming at Berkeley, he's been their marketing officer for a long time. So not only was he playing for them, but he was also responsible for their social media management as well as working with a bunch of other companies in order to bring in sponsorships and revenue. So it's not just
Okay.
a pretty face. He's also willing to
That's
talk the
management
talk.
material right there.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, I like that. That definitely makes him a more well-rounded gamer. Rafa, do you have anything?
Yeah, if we're going to talk about his collegiate, I might as well tell you what he was also doing during the collegiate days. He was studying UC Berkeley in computer science. And so he was very proficient
Ooh.
in C, Java, Python, SQL as well. And I think a job he was holding down while he was in between high school and collegiate was... Oh, he told me... he was an assistant coach for tennis. at
Assistant
Baystar.
coach.
Yeah.
Assistant coach for tennis. So coaching experience. He's got management experience and coaching experience.
Not bad.
There you go.
That's not bad at all. All right, here, I'm going to try and format this. Joshi, anything else I can add on here that kind of fleshes this out more?
Well, he's not just a League player. He's a Pokemon master as well. I was told
What?
that recently he competed in the Pokemon trading card game World Championships.
Oh, really?
Not gonna, toot a horn or anything, but just saying this guy is a top level player in more than one game.
Okay, not too bad. Okay, so the thing I like about card games is that they're very strategic, and I think that's good for a jungler. That's definitely good for a jungler. All right, so yeah, I got a computer science background, proficient in some coding. I'll fix this up down here. Assistant coach for a tennis team. That's really exciting. Pokemon TCG World Championship competitor, and yeah, a lot of cool stuff. What about languages? Does he speak any other languages, guys?
Mandarin and Shanghainese, actually. The fact that he speaks multiple languages means that he's an asset to any business operation you're trying to do, especially if you need to export or import players or goods and services.
Okay, I like it. Well-rounded player, well-rounded person, well-rounded gamer. I like it. Thank you so much, guys. I think that this is honestly looking pretty ready to ship once I get the tennis coach adjusted down there. But thank you so much for your time. I know that you guys got to get back and ready for pick and ban for game number 2 here shortly. So I'm just going to pass it off to the two of you. Thank you, everybody. See you next time.
Bye, Steve the recruiter.
Bye, Steve, the recruiter.
I wonder what happened to our host.
That's a good question. It's always interesting to me how similar they tend to look to, our host. It feels like part of the Matrix or something, right? Where there's a lot of twins all the time, and
Could just be
we'll
living
figure it out.
in an alternate universe as well.
Could be.
Yeah, multiple
An alternate
timelines.
universe. As long as I can cast League of Legends, it doesn't really matter what universe we're a part of, right? So
Well, I'll tell you the universe that we are in. We're in the universe where Team Liquid had a very, very solid game against Dignitas. They opened up with 3 dragons right their way, and even though Dignitas weren't succeeding any more advantages, that one set play around the Baron, absolutely beautiful stuff. And we didn't really get a chance to talk about Bradley and Harry's performance in that game, but Bradley farming up quietly on the top side of the map and then just absolutely exploded on the Akali.
yeah, It sounds like we are going to be jumping into champ select here in just a moment, and the thing that I'm going to be paying attention to this time is how well Team Liquid create difficult questions for Dignitas, right? In the first one, the first difficult question we asked is, do they want to go secure the dragon, or do they want to prevent the Rift from crashing in the mid lane? They chose to defend their mid lane turret, but it gave a dragon over towards the side of Team Liquid. Later on, just as you identified, do you want to deny us the Infernal Soul, or do you want to try and deny us this Baron? They chose to deny the Infernal Soul, but ended up giving over the Baron, and Dignitas tried to contest both of them at the same time, and unfortunately, it bit them in the butt. And so now we're going to have to pay attention to how they're going to be bouncing back, what their answer is going to be to the difficult questions that Team Liquid is going to be asking, and are we going to be going to a 1-1 series like Dignitas have been so known for this split?
The other question I have for Dignitas is, are we going to see a change up in playstyle? And I know after just, being on the phone with Steve, the recruiter, we talked about how XU, very, very proficient in the Lee Sin, but the adaptations that multiple teams now, not just Cloud9 anymore, Team Liquid are also adapting to picking up the Udyr as well. And it's a matchup that really sucks for Lee Sin. I'm not going to shy away from it, because if you don't do anything within the first 2-3 levels, then Udyr can pretty much win any single 1v1 when you look for a river skirmish, and then the clear speed overall, it just feels disastrous, and it just puts this huge amount of pressure on the Lee Sin pilot to just have to make plays using the Dragon's Rage. And I know Dignitas, and then particularly XU, have played more some of farming carries before, but they've been so reliant on using XU as an early game engine. I wonder if Dignitas have been scrimming or practicing now with a change up in their playstyle and playing for a slower game.
We'll see. We have to note that Team Liquid not banning Lee Sin away, it almost feels like they want to get XU onto that champion so they can just play the Udyr into it. I was a little bit surprised there originally because I saw that red side had not banned Caitlyn, and then I looked towards the blue side of the map and it's like, oh, okay, there's the ban. Team Liquid not looking to play it as either. But we're going back to a very similar draft to what we were seeing in the first half of this series. Jinx, Phalios, Jinx, Phalios, Jinx, Phalios. It feels like first 2 picks in almost every single game that they are not banned. But Dignitas still need to figure out what kind of style they are going to be looking to play. And I know that Deos has been really excited about bringing out a couple of different new styles to Dignitas, but we haven't yet quite seen it. Whereas Spawn, on the other hand, the coach for Team Liquid, feels like he's got a couple of compositions on lock. Absolutely broken. They just need to actually execute on some of them. So we'll see what version of them are going to be coming to the
I
forefront.
remember catching up with Spawn in one of the cons. It's like, my draft is so good. Just slight miss on the execution, but it's okay. Well,
Slight miss. Quote.
Akali.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
We got the Tom Kench. This is something that has not been quite as popular, nor have we seen it so far this series, but this is something that we know is very good in the hands of people like Ayla, right? His ability to keep his backline safe and make sure that Yan is never under threat from the other side means that Dignitas now have to instantly shift the way that they were initially going to think. They play a lot of dive style compositions where you try and put a lot of pressure into the AD carry, but when that guy has a get out of jail free card, you have to shift towards hitting everybody else because you can't really kill Yan when there's a Tom Kench on the field.
Akali once again being locked in. Technically, this is a flex between Harry and Bradley, but Bradley did such a great job on the Akali in game 1. Had to go up against the Renekton, which is a tough laning phase, but because neither team really played around it, Bradley got out of the laning phase with relatively very low punishment from the side of Dignitas, and was a huge contributing factor in why the Baron fight wiped out so many members of Dignitas, isolating Spawn, and then it's just easy cleanup for both him and Harry. Would love to see him on it once again. And with these bans in the Cassiopeia, it indicates to me that Dignitas are also prepared for a repeat performance for Bradley's Akali.
And there we see the Lee Sin ban coming through as well. I do like the fact that Ryze is starting to come back into the meta a little bit. He just has incredibly high damage, and it can kind of override a lot of the defensive stats that come out from like Moth, Malmortius, as well as the Death Stands if you just do that much damage. However, it does mean that this is going to be the solo AP source. It does not make sense to play more than one magic damage source in this day and age, simply because of the strength of those two items. You do not want to allow your opponents to easily build some of these really strong items. You need to make sure that you're doing mostly physical damage. So it does mean that we're not going to be seeing any Nidlees coming through. I don't expect to see any AP top laners played either. And now XU's pool is really, really pinched. The only thing I think we've really seen him play this season has been the Jarvan, but of course we know the Graves is still in his back pocket.
It's no way. It's not. It's not.
Nunu and William.
No, it's not a Nunu. That's fake news. Taking away these early
William.
game engines from XU would force him to play something different if it's not the Jarvan and the Hecarim. It's our first time seeing XU on this champion in particular.
Okay.
Really, I think it's only been piloted by Malice this entire Academy season. Maybe Armeo has played a Hecarim game once, but this is going to be a completely different look for Dignitas overall.
I'm really excited to see this, right? Hecarim is a champion that is not quite as popular, but can be played in multiple different ways. One, you can farm really incredibly efficiently on this champion, right? You can do a similar thing to Udyr because you know you're going to be very strong later on in the game, but you also have insane pop-off potential as the Hecarim. Because you run so fast, oftentimes people don't have time to react. They have to ward really deep, and hey, the Udyr Hecarim, I know you remember this from last year, everybody.
It's
going
spring
to be the same
2021 all over again.
Spring 2021. Let's go. Turbo QNTMPAY
right.
coming through for both sides. I'm very surprised, though, that we are seeing a Lucian come out from the side of Team Liquid. As we already touched on, you only want one magic damage source at a time, and Akali is going to be it for the side of Team Liquid, which means that they want to go with a second marksman plus the Udyr so that they make sure that they don't over-index the magic damage. Whoa!
Yo!
Whoa! That's not Viper! I didn't know he played this champion.
I think Eclipse did play one Riven game on TSM Amateur last year. I have to go back and check. But yeah, for me, Eclipse has not been known for playing Riven, or at least from my memory. I usually associate Eclipse back during some of his best performances on things like the Aatrox from the TSM Amateur days last year. But this is... Wow.
Wow.
I'm at a loss for words, and he's taking the aggressive summoner spell setup too. Ignite Flash. Oh, baby.
Okay, well, now we know where XU is going to be spending his time this game, right? We were talking up Spawn quite a bit in the first game where he was able to get a couple of kills and set himself up to be the carry that his team needed to be. Unfortunately, they didn't play around him. They weren't able to create a pocket where he was able to safely hit throughout the game. This time, we're going to be flipping it a little bit, right? You have a couple of marksmen on the other side of the map where you have to make sure that they are able to create some space for themselves. And if Riven is constantly getting into the team and denying that pocket and bursting that bubble, it becomes so much more difficult for the members of Team Liquid to really ask the difficult questions that got them their win.
Having a double marksman composition for Team Liquid as well makes them have a powerful backline, but it's also a squishy backline and another member that can be instantly popped by this Riven if it gets dangerously ahead. You have a great way and a very easy way of getting onto the backline since you have multiple gap closers and 3 casts of Broken Wings as well as your Valor Shield. And then the execute as well from the Wind Slash makes that job even easier. My question is, though, is that Hecarim is not a champion that has the easiest ganks in the world. It's very telegraphed how it's going to happen, right? You wait for them to push up, you pop ghosts, and you just run at them. You try to shove them into your laner, like, all right, here you go, bam. That's it. And if you don't have enough movement speed to run them down, then there's no other real crowd control. But it's great because at least Eclipse has 2 forms of crowd control in both his Key Burst stun and his knock-up from the 3rd cast of Broken Wings.
Yeah, Hecarim is definitely one of the champions that punish a lot of medium to low coordination teams, right? Because they're not necessarily used to playing around it. They aren't constantly tracking where he is, and you aren't able to really keep yourself safe a lot of the time. So We'll see if XU can really use that. I'm curious which version of Hecarim he's going to be playing. If it's going to be the heavy dive style, the very aggressive, trying to snowball the game version of Hecarim, or if he's going to commit to a much more safe farming style and allowing the pop-off potential of both Rise and Riven to get them later on into the game. I'd like to see them really punish Bradley early on because this is miserable first couple levels for Akali.
If you stop this Akali from snowballing, not only you make sure that the rest of your team doesn't have to worry about a super fed ninja trying to delete you from existence, but also you're helping out your Riven, which is also a very volatile top laner that needs some love and support from any member of the team. It doesn't have to be just XU. I wouldn't be surprised if this game Dignitas finds some timers where they get spawn on JJ to reset and you just see JJ booking it towards the top side of the map.
Yep. Look at how far back Bradley is playing up here in the top lane. He cannot afford to walk up because he knows that Eclipse is there. And look at the fact that Eclipse is fighting him so far away. Bradley outside of experience range where I think Eclipse is able to get all of it. Yeah, there is not a single minion of experience going over to Bradley so far, which means that he is super, super delayed. And now that...
Really?
What?
There's no way he... Oh my god! Okay, but that's first blood for Eclipse. It's an equal trade, and Bradley still has teleport to come back to the wave, so I'm not sure how much of a good thing this is.
Bradley has also decided that he doesn't think he needs to teleport. The wave appears to be pushing towards his side of the map, which, if that's true, Bradley's in a brilliant position because neither of them were able to pick up any CS there. The experience differential not going to matter a whole lot because Bradley going down for first blood ends up getting to the map a little bit faster. But it also means there's opportunities for both Udyr and Hecarim to come towards the top side.
Now, XU has paths towards the top side of the map, so Eclipse will have a little bit more support, and I wonder if they could potentially dive Bradley. Eclipse, watch that he got level 2 first, and he's trying to push Bradley off the minion wave as best as he can. XU should be able to finish up this Krug camp and make his way towards the top side of the map, where Armeo, pathing from top to bottom, cannot assist in the potential dive.
Yeah, but the wave pushing in towards Bradley means that he's a lot safer than he would otherwise be. So XU has to make a difficult decision. Does he go for this and try and risk it all, or is he just going to try and out-farm the Udyr? Both of them still make sense, and right now, he has to make a decision. It's a difficult question that we saw previously.
Oh, hold on. There's some action in the mid lane, too, and XU says, you know what? I don't need to worry about top lane. I need to worry about mid lane right now because Harry, super low. Eclipse is coming for this as well. If they could make this play, but Harry still has flash. Eclipse doesn't. They're going to look for it. Flash from Dark Wings, but he doesn't get the root in time, but they can still run him down. And Ayla, this isn't pre-rework. Tom Kench cannot save you because Devourer comes at level 6, and Armeo has been routed off. Dignitas don't realize it though. Armeo might be able to have the great escape, but he's going to run into XU. Pops the bear slap, has to pop the ghost. Ayla commits with the abyssal dive, and it will allow Armeo to get out safely.
Definitely feels like Solid Snake coming out for Armeo for a little bit,
True.
but ends up being in a really bad spot, right? XU is finding not only the early game farm lead, but also the early game kills. He's getting both styles going at the same time. And then the bottom lane, look at the fact that JJ and Spawn pushing off Yan as well. They're finding advantages across the map.
This has been a spicy opening to the game. Eclipse hitting level 4 just at the same time as Bradley. Bradley feeling a little bit more confident. Yes, Eclipse was able to get a long sword for his troubles, but it's also a cloth armor for Bradley, so able to mitigate a little bit of that early poke and trade damage. I imagine that things are going to turn up once again when both of these top laners hit level 6. And depending on where XU and Armeo are, they can even make the action more volatile.
Yeah, we probably won't have to wait that long. You have to know that both these guys are here to fight. Ignites are coming back up very shortly, and Eclipse going to be maintaining CS parity. But look at that, just going for little bits of trade and dodging out from the shuriken flip as well. It means that he's going to be winning a lot of these engagements. But Eclipse also opting into a playstyle where he is convinced that he wants to win this really hard, really early. Because he has no teleport. He can't move around the map, and XU not going to be super worried about it, is actually the highest level in the game. I guess that's not that surprising at this point, simply because he gets that first kill, already has the boots ready to go. And Mark, I wonder what version of Hecarim we're going to be seeing. Is it going to be the turbo chem tank, or is he going to be going with some kind of Sheen item?
If Hecarim is your only front line, I think you have to go the chem tank version, because then you are, I mean, you'll have a Omega threat overload team, but then you don't have anyone that can sustainably take a lot of the damage coming from the backline of Team Liquid. And so someone's got to do it. And you have enough damage with Riven, Ryzen. What's up?
But Death Stands, Riven, and Frozen Heart Rise, right? Like, you have tanks on your team. Like, they're not true tanks, but they're pretty tanky, especially up against like all the marksmen, all these auto attackers. They actually stay alive for a long time.
Oh wait, Darkwings might die here. He
Not
doesn't
yet,
have
though.
flash. Just one more auto attack from Harry. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa,
Harry!
whoa, whoa!
Well, they stayed alive a long time. Just it's not supposed to happen that way. Unfortunate not using the buttons to make sure you only auto attack champions. Harry makes that way closer than it needs to be, but XU going to be another recipient of a lot of income as he's going to be picking up all this mid lane farm, putting it into the mid lane, and Armeo trying to stop him.
Yeah, actually, he doesn't have enough mana, so cannot fight back against Man Bear Pig in the mid lane. Armeo booking it towards the top side of the map. Bradley
Warden's Mail.
pushing up a decent wave. And Eclipse is going to have access to both summoner spells and level 6. So Armeo is not gonna go for a risky dive. As long as Bradley is not getting punished here, he's actually up quite a few CS as well.
Yeah, that first blood that Eclipse picked up was not enough to keep him in a strong position, at least not for a little while longer. Once he gets level, I guess they're already level 6, but he's down about 200 gold at this point, and we're not seeing a whole lot of attention being paid towards the top side just quite yet. But I also want to point out, Darkwings has the Warden's Mail already completed. This item is so insanely efficient, guys. I've been saying that Randuin is broken for over a year at this point. Frozen Heart's still good, too.
Oh, look at this. The Dark Passage bringing in Exio, and he's still in a devastating charge, so he can make the rundown onto Ayla. Onslaught of Shadows follows up. JJ's the one that picks up the kill. Jan now in trouble because he doesn't have any friends coming anytime soon. Teleport was already used by Bradley, so he can't come to the teleport, and Jan getting dove. A little bit of a treatment similar to the Golden Guardian series yesterday, and Dignitas are going to make it out with 2 kills.
And a plate, right? A lot of gold going over towards the side of Dignitas early on. Absolutely huge. And XU has been at the core of so much of it. Harry and Darkwing's fighting.
The Warden's Mail already putting in a lot of work and mitigating so much damage, and can't get through the minions. Ignite, thanks to the unsealed spellbook with Dark Wings, forces Harry back. We're going to absorb this minion wave once again. You know what? I know we're now seeing Chem Tank guaranteed for XU, and I think it's too late to invest into the tier for the Moramana build, but this is going to be a deceptively very tanky team from Dignitas now that I think about it.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people who can kind of move in and out in the front line in ways that we saw other teams have a lot of success. I believe it was Golden Guardians yesterday up against Team Liquid, just denying all the resets from the Jinx in the first place, and Jan never really had an opportunity, but Bradley.
Well, he followed the Shuriken backflip, Death Sentence. I think Bradley's going to have to use the perfect execution to get out. Eclipse, I think he popped the Blade of the Exile. Wind Slash will be used to probably get some extra chip damage onto Bradley. You got to be careful. I know JJ's around, but Bradley still has a little bit of extra damage.
But it does mean at the same time that since XU is here, they showed where JJ was. It's going to be a Rift Herald going over towards XU, and he's not falling behind in farm. He's ready to go, and Team Liquid trying to find something to do on the map. The answer appears to be trying to go bottom lane, but they're not really going to be able to do a whole lot more than pressure spawn off the wave for a couple of minions, pick up a couple of plates, and so Jan's not super far behind, but he's not happy with the situation either. He's going to be struggling for a while, and that's why you already see the Cole coming out, because he's expecting to actually be able to pick that up at a reasonable time frame. Fortunately, rather far behind.
And even with the small investments from JJ, it's really just a way to protect Eclipse from getting 1v1'd by Bradley, because he's doing a great job in the laning phase. We haven't really seen the value of this Riven pick come to full fruition quite yet. Currently down 30 CS, and Bradley is just doing a great job in the 1v1 at the moment. If Eclipse can turn around in these mid-game fights and find flanks onto Harry and Jan, that's one way that Riven can still shine, but right now, Bradley has clearly the upper hand.
It should remain that way for a little while. XU coming down, dropping the Rift Herald instantly. Going to be getting at least 2 plates off this spawn, trying to get that last bit of damage in order to make sure that they can get a third one, but just going to be giving money over, sharing it between the jungler and the AD carry. Both of them very happy to pick it up, and Bradley going for a fight.
Eclipse has Flash, Ignite, and Blade of the Exile. Ooh! Actually, great patience from Eclipse. Doesn't pop his ultimate, just waiting to dodge out on the last Shuriken backflip. He will have an ultimate advantage in the next 1v1 that they have, but Eclipse does have to recall.
But at the same time, Dignitas, again, finding some opportunities in the bottom half, and they're going to be picking up another dragon. We're seeing a very similar position in Game 1 and Game 2, just with the teams reversed, right? Team Liquid are able to pick up both these earlier as the rocket goes white. It does mean that 2 dragons currently going over to Dignitas, and the only thing that we are really seeing coming out from Team Liquid is the fact that Bradley has a pretty large advantage here in the top lane, which gives them an avenue to play through, whereas Eclipse on the Renekton last time, as I said, I kind of forgot he was in the game.
Maybe Eclipse heard you and is like, well, you're going to pay attention to me now.
I am. Unfortunately, it's not the greatest attention, right, when you're down 30 CS, but, you know, I will pay attention to you.
Ayla here on the top side of the map, making sure that Bradley can safely push up as there's still a window where Bradley communicating, hey, I don't have ultimate. Eclipse will have everything. They might try to go for something on me when they come off the reset off of the dragon. Ayla making sure that he is sweeping out vision control and that Bradley will be safe. JJ and XU now on the top side of the map, but Armeo is here as well. Still a window where Bradley doesn't have ultimate, but it doesn't look like anyone is going to pull the trigger.
Very scary too when you're seeing so many members missing off the map from the other side. You don't want to be the one making any mistakes, and there's nothing really to play for either, right? It's just the kills that you would be picking up, and that's something that Dignitas seems more likely to play for than Team Liquid, right? XU wants to play for these, try and steal this away, and easy smite.
Yoink. That's mine now.
Yoink.
And it sucks for Harry, but it is hard to outsmite 900 true damage, even as a Lucian. No matter how.
Yep,
Oh no.
Bradley.
Eclipse tries to flash one out. Bradley had already committed both parts of the perfect execution. Will not close the distance on Eclipse, but now gains the summoner advantage as Flash and Blade of the Exile were used.
Okay, Bradley, I mean, he was winning this really, really hard. Eclipse's early play doesn't pay off, and Bradley needs to... Ooh, he needs to be very careful right now up in the top side as Eclipse going to be backing away, but Bradley going to secure himself another play and even more gold going over to the Akali.
I think in future games, people are going to be respecting Bradley's Akali more. The counter pick going over to Dignitas didn't necessarily work out. Bradley has full control of this lane, up 30, 40 CS. Dignitas knowing that
Realm Warp.
they're going to try to pivot towards the bottom side of the map, and wow. And a Realm Warp was spotted by Team Liquid, so they answered with a teleport from Harry, making sure that no one is going to get threatened in the dive.
Yeah, I actually think that Realm Warp was almost just used for vision, right? It's the kind of thing where you can see where you're going to be going, and they end up creating a situation where Harry felt like he needed to respawn in order to not give over a whole lot of advantages with good dodge.
Oh, a lot of damage on Yon. Ayla immediately with the Devour. He's going to give Yon a huge shield to sustain off of the rest of this minion wave. Ayla body blocking the Moonlight Vigil, but you can't body block the giant horse that is just stampeding all over, but it's a little too long under the tower. Armeo picks up a shutdown.
Okay, they pick up Yon, but as we said, XU staying too long ends up giving over a shutdown right on the backside, giving it over to Armeo, who is now about 20 CS ahead once again. But with all of these summoner spells going down and gold being traded back and forth, the big thing is what is going to be available for this upcoming dragon. And it looks like the ultimate from XU will be available, but the heal for Yon will not be. So a little bit less safety coming out for the side of Team Liquid, but the positive gold trade means that they are now right on back to even.
And it's been such a tight race for both Dignitas and Team Liquid in securing first brick, as the bottom turret just needs one more wave of free time from Dignitas, whereas Bradley has been making it close against Eclipse. Cannot secure first brick right now as he is on a great reset timer to pick up his first completed item. Eclipse will be able to soak that one up, and the dragon will be spawning in 1 minute. And depending on how Dignitas position off of this mid-wave reset, they can make a play to secure first brick. But Team Liquid going to jump on the fact that Rift Herald is uncontested.
There you go, and remember, Bradley has a teleport, whereas Eclipse does not. Darklings currently does not either, so it's very difficult for the members of Dignitas to answer both questions of trying to defend the top lane turret, as well as going to fight for the dragon at the same time. But Team Liquid, there's also a difficult question for them. Do they want to be giving over this dragon? Because that would be putting one dragon away from the Infernal Soul for Dignitas as well. And again, now that I think about it, like, there's a lot of similarities between this game and the first one. But Team Liquid now going to be taking down the top lane turret. They don't even have to have a tough question of which they value. They're going to be getting this one, and Bradley can also choose to come down.
I mean, you said it. Similarity, even down to the Dragon Order and the Soul that we're getting as well. First two dragons were Mountain and Ocean, and then into the Fire Soul. Team Liquid poised around mid lane, making sure that Yon can push up safely. They don't want to be put in the same position that they put Dignitas in game 1, where they were up 3 dragons and then force them to answer the question around the Baron Pit. This way, Team Liquid bullying their way and brute forcing themselves into Dragon Pit, but Dignitas now have the wraparound on them. They can make this pincer. XU has to commit onto the play, but Armeo's burning it down. Dragon will be secured by Team Liquid. Bradley comes in with the teleport, but immediately gets chunked out. Ayla force used to devour and get Bradley out alive. Harry flashing over the wall, and the Realm Warp is coming through. Multiple members of Dignitas will pile on through, and XU finds the kill onto Bradley. Over the wall, Eclipse flicks up a double. Maybe looks for the triple, but he's in a little bit of a danger. Has to back away from Armeo. It's a lot of damage from the Firebird, man, but he goes back in, and Eclipse says, put me back in the game, coach, because I just put on a triple kill.
Triple kill coming through for Dignitas. Eclipse suddenly coming up huge. He was struggling so hard in the first part of the game, right? Despite trading the 1-for-1, he was down so far in CS and still is, but coming through, Team Liquid come in a bit of a scattered way. They don't have their front line in front. They are in a spot where Riven has unrestricted access to the back line. Able to take down Harry across the wall, even as he's able to pick up Yon at the same time. And Armeo, the only one left. I love the fact that Eclipse has the patience to wait it out and make sure he's not going to be trading anything back because he has the Valor Shield.
Going from 1-1 to now 4-1. And we said it before, after the level 1 and the multiple 1v1s that Bradley and Eclipse had, where Bradley was clearly winning out, we said it. Eclipse, at this point, you have to wait and see if you can make an impact in the mid-game fights and the skirmishes, because there's no way that you can outperform Bradley at this point unless he makes a mistake. It's exactly what happened. Dignitas find that window. Team Liquid do manage to secure the 3rd dragon of the game, so they are not having to face Soul Point from Dignitas at this part of the game. But Dignitas showing a completely different style, playing a slower game than we have seen from them before, and right now they're the ones with the advantage.
See how well they can actually close it out here, Mark, because it is still a position where Team Liquid have specialized in these positions before.
Armeo might have gone a little too far forward. He has Ghost. He doesn't need it. He's actually just zooming on out just thanks to Bear Stance. It was a phase rush and Ghost pop from XU, but still not enough movement speed to lock him down.
Yeah, so this is, again, where Team Liquid, with 4 members returning from Summer, were able to find a lot of their wins. They were down in this position many times before, but they were able to manufacture team fights after the 20-minute mark, where they were the ones coming out on top. They would take other teams entirely by surprise, and we know that in the same way that Dignitas are so good at having trigger pull in the first half of games, Team Liquid have fantastic trigger pull in the second half of games. When they see an opportunity, they'll go for it, and a huge part of that so far has been Armeo. He creates so much space for the rest of the team. He's typically going for these engagements. The only question is, can he still do it on a champion like Udyr, whose only real way of starting fights is running at you really quickly?
Well, at least he has multiple ways to run at you quickly. Yeah, Chilling Smite if he gets in range, and then Ghost just for the extra boost of Nitrous to close the distance. Rest of Dignitas, though, because they are playing a slower game and their composition is one that doesn't fall off the later the game goes on, Dignitas can be more relaxed. They don't have to be on the same timer as we've usually seen Dignitas having to play with in prior games during the Academy season. And you're seeing how well it is allowing Dignitas to breathe on the map here.
Dignitas, I mean, once you just have that weight off your chest and you can actually move around the map and actually dictate how these games go, it's their comfort zone. They want to be in a spot where they can create a lot of pressure, but look at the fact that the double marksman plus the Udyr makes the itemization coming out for Dignitas so much easier, right? There's a Randuin's completed onto XU. There's a Frozen Heart completed onto Darkwing. Eclipse going to be building towards that Death's Dance, right? They just need to worry about the physical damage because Bradley is not far ahead enough that he needs to worry about the magic damage. It makes Dignitas so much stronger in a lot of these team fights, and as long as they don't get picked in some bad skirmishes, they're going to be just fine.
Teleport comes out. XU zoned off momentarily by Armeo, but now he might be routed off here. Ayla, if he needs to save him, would have to expend a Devour, but it would suck to use that for your jungle instead of one of your marksmen, and they don't get a chance to do so because Eclipse routes him off and stuns him down. Ayla flashing away from Eclipse, who is on the pursuit, on the chase, looking for Yawn, going in for the flash, forcing Yawn just to use the Gale Force. No Summoner's Burn necessary, but it keeps Team Liquid back.
All right, I mean, that's a play that's coming through where Dignitas are faster through rotation than the members of Team Liquid, and it comes at the best possible time for Dignitas as well. They are in sole possession of this dragon. There has to be some kind of miracle steal coming through. Yawn, we've seen so many Jinx steals in the past, but Team Liquid without vision, without a whole lot other than a small hope and a prayer, are going to be giving up a very similar position to the checkmate that Team Liquid had in the first game. JJ just being annoying over the wall. Yeah, poke.
Sometimes you got to do it to him. And just throw out a death sentence. And thankfully, you know, you don't fall into the syndrome of actually committing to the hook. You just make sure you are slowing the roll and being a nuisance, as you already called it out before. Third dragon being secured for Dignitas puts them at Soul Point. So at the 27-minute mark, Team Liquid will be put in the same position that they put Dignitas in Game 1. And so far, one of the people that we saw, Bradley, sees an opportunity to maybe get a solo kill onto Darkwings, knowing he doesn't have any magic resistance. Perfect execution will come through. One more on attack, but Darkwings flashes it away. However, Ayla and Armeo should be able to close the distance. Oh, he dodges out on the tongue lash. Darkwings takes out, and a Super Mega Death Rocket. Wait, how did he kill Bradley under the tower?
Oh my god, what? Bradley? Did he just tank and die? I think that's what must have happened, because now Dignitas feels so confident in their ability to go for this play on the other side of the map. They saw everybody from Team Liquid there. Harry has a teleport. He can rejoin. I think he's got an Essence Raver completed here, but Team Liquid, they are down a man as Darkwings
and they dive onto the backline. Devour immediately used for Yawn. He still has flash and heal. Watch for how he uses it, though. Armeo has already been eviscerated from the fight. Death Sentence connects onto Ayla. Yawn gets routed off by Spawn as he flashes over the wall and asserts his dominance. Dignitas, with a beautiful turnaround, can now turn to the Baron.
Great play. As we said, this is looking so controlled. It's looking so much like our first game, just in reverse, right? The members of Dignitas finding these plays. They see an opportunity to go for the Baron, they take it, and now they're going to be pushing it down. And so the only thing that they have to do is continue playing this out. Their composition is going to be outscaling. They are better at long range. They have more tools to go for. And if you take a look at the fight once again, you see the pressure that they're already putting on towards the backline, but I love the fact that as soon as XU loses the opportunity to go for Yawn, is like, nope, well, I guess we're going for the front line instead. Let me kill Armeo, and then once we've killed the front line, there's nobody to stand in front for the rest of the members of Team Liquid. So Dignitas, total control over the game, great target selection, and the only thing they need to do now is cleanly close it out.
So much armor now built up for multiple members of Dignitas, and yeah, just thanks to how Hecarim works, you can build so many tank items. Oh my god, does Spawn just find a full solo kill? Beautiful sidestep from Yawn. Able to dodge out of the Moonlight Vigil. That surely should have been his life. And Yawn, you know, even being down 5,000 gold and a point where Dignitas have a commanding lead, still gotta find time to throw out a little bit of BM and have some fun with the game.
Yeah, it's a very tough spot, right? When Yawn isn't in a position where he has enough damage to do anything, and here he doesn't have enough damage to kill the front line either. It takes forever, right? Team Liquid have to kite back super, super hard, and that's not what you want to do when you have an Akali on the team. So Team Liquid, their composition and the way that they need to play this are now shifting in ways that I don't think we typically see Team Liquid go for, right? Typically, they find a lot of their wins being aggressive and being the ones to engage fights, and they don't have the tools for that, because look at the fact that Darkwings just hit Bradley and doesn't take any damage from the turret in return.
Between Fimbulwinter fully stacked, the Frozen Heart, you said it before. I mean, this Rise maybe doesn't put out a ton of damage, but he survives long enough that he'll be able to withstand the battle and endure the war. Dignitas pushing up through this inhibitor tower onto the bottom side. Bradley is forced to recall as he is low on health. Dignitas making this siege. The inhibitor will fall.
zoning E.
Oh, but look at the flank. Potentially Bradley is teleported all the way into the back line. It's going to take a while. Dignitas, they should have seen it thanks to the minion ping. Now Dignitas, they were put in a tough spot in game 1 where they were forced to choose between a question. Can they answer it correctly this time around?
Oh.
They forced the engage onto Bradley, but Eclipse finds the backline. Dark Wings turns around. Harry's able to kite this one out with the culling. Bradley still cannot get access to spawn because XU has gate kept him away. No perfect execution available. Now they turn towards the backline. XU comes flying in with the onslaught of shadows. They wipe out Ayla. Bradley's the last man standing, but it's not going to be enough. Dignitas will even out the series 1-1. And Dignitas close it out.
And this is not the kind of Dignitas that we were used to seeing. We were seeing them go very aggressive early on in the game. We were seeing them find a lot of advantages that way. But this time around, it's controlled. They go for the dragons. They play around their ultimates in ways that we haven't been seeing coming out from the members of Dignitas previously. And the fact that they are now able to show this style against Team Liquid, who had just done the same thing to them, is really, really impressive. And it's part of why we are so excited about this roster, even though there's so many new members and they're still down on the bottom half of the standings.
Yeah,
they just look good.
And given the way that Team Liquid started the early game as well, such a huge advantage that Bradley built by himself. Because remember, this was a counter pick that Eclipse locked in against Bradley. And yes, he picked up first blood, but Bradley rebounded beautifully and held control of that lane by himself, calling up resources from Dignitas just to make sure that Eclipse didn't go down in the 1v1. But then Dignitas were able to find a response to it. They realized, you know what? We're not going to be able to find an advantage just soloing through the top side of the map. We have to burn down the bottom half. We need to spawn. We need to accelerate gold into spawn and then find a way to get Eclipse into a fight where it can find some squishies that are going to be easier to deal with than Bradley. And lo and behold, they do exactly that, and Eclipse is finally back in the game.
Yeah, great to see Eclipse have a turnaround from his first game where kind of forgot he was there to this time. You could not forget the Riven was part of it. He was able to come out with so many plays and so many flanks that it kind of justifies the pick when you're going for something a little bit more unusual like that. You put the onus on yourself to say, I think that I'm good enough on this champion that I don't care if it's not meta. I'm going to still be able to find some success. And Eclipse did just that. He proved that Riven, even when down, is never out. So great stuff coming out from the top side of the map.
Eclipse, nice moment for him to bounce back in a tough situation that, you know, to be fair, he put on himself. But I still want teams to take away that when they're playing against Team Liquid, I think you have to be conscious about this Akali because it is something that Bradley has clearly proven that he has a great mastery over. But unfortunately, it's not enough to net them a sweep. It is still a 1-1. When we come back from this break, Kangas will be joined by Dignitas for an interview after the game.
Hello and welcome back, everybody, for our post-series interview with none other than support JJ for Dignitas Academy. We finally got you on for one of our post-match interviews. First of all, congratulations on splitting another 1-1 today, ending on a win right there. And I gotta ask, what was the story behind Eclipse's Riven? Because I was doing some digging, and I don't see any stage game save for one way back in 2019 when he was playing an amateur. So what's the story behind it?
Honestly, we haven't played it much in scrims, maybe like a couple of times, but like low key, he's pretty good at Riven. Like I think if you go to his Doyen, like he has a bunch of Riven highlights, so like he seemed pretty confident. He was like, "I'll play to the Kali or the Lucian since they're flexing it, and I'll be fine." And we were like, "Okay, we trust you. Like this is what you want to do."
I like it. Were you nervous at all when he traded kills level 1 and then had to wait frozen on him?
A little bit, but I think our comp as a whole was like pretty good into theirs, so I wasn't too worried. Like I felt confident like we could pull through regardless.
And clearly it did work out. I mean, he popped off by the end of that game. So yeah, cool to see Eclipse showing up with a new unique champion for us. But of course, the 1-1 dream does continue for Dignitas Academy. It looks like you can't get away from these series splits. How do you feel about splitting so many games against so many other teams so far?
I think it makes a lot of sense actually. Like we're still a team with 3 rookies, so there's a lot of inconsistencies in our play, and like we're still learning a lot. So I'm not like mad or disappointed. It's we just still have a lot to work on, and once we iron out all the little things, then things will go smoother, and hopefully we can get some 2-0s. But for now, I'll keep taking 1-1s as they come.
I mean, hey, that is consistency in its own right. You're at least picking up those wins, and I'm happy that you bring up that you have 3 rookies on the roster because you just played against Team Liquid Academy. They have a fairly experienced roster, but for Dignitas, you have the most experience on this team. So I'd love to hear your insights now that we get to chat with you on broadcast of what some of the early growing pains were like with Dignitas when you first kind of started playing with this very young group of guys.
I mean, we still have a lot of growing pains. I think it's kind of just like getting everyone on the same page, because I actually think for rookies, like we have pretty good ideas for how we want to play, especially like XU and Eclipse. They're both pretty vocal. It's just a matter of like putting everything together, like including myself. Like sometimes I take a back step and like I let them take the lead, but sometimes I want to take the lead, and then it can be a bit confusing when like all of us have separate ideas. But yeah, we're working on it still.
How about some early success stories from the year that would surprise you? Like, wow, these guys, for having such little experience playing academy level and above, actually know what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely see it. Like, for example, when Boris or Eclipse is on Renekton, like, you can say whatever you want about the champion Renekton as a character in the meta, but like the way he pilots it is really clean. Same thing for Exu, like his Lee Sin is really clean, and like for Darkwings, like his Silas is just like he just blinds it, and then in some matchups, and I see him like win when I don't think he should win. So they're definitely like all really mechanically talented, and like I'm glad that they've been able to like show me that, not me, but show everybody that they deserve a spot in Academy.
Yeah, it's been awesome to see the team finding success, especially with a lot of these younger players. Now, I will say, Mazel, the other host for the show, he's been looking forward to doing an interview with you for a while now, but for some reason, every time Dignitas plays on his stream, you win the first game but lose the second game. So he hasn't had a chance to actually talk with you yet. But I know he'd be upset if I didn't ask for him, because he noted on your player survey that you listed that you would like to be a chef at some point in your life in the future. So his question is, what sort of food do you want to cook? And then my question is, if you own a restaurant, what's the name going to be?
Oh, okay. So I actually do have like thoughts on both of these. For food,
Okay.
something that I've tried like a couple of times at a few different restaurants is like Japanese Peruvian fusion food is really, really good. And if you find a Japanese Peruvian restaurant near you, you should probably go there, even if sometimes they're a little pricey. And for if I owned a restaurant, I always thought I would do like some sort of fusion or like multicultural restaurant. So I wanted it to have something to do with like the word world. So like Juan World Cafe because my name's Juan. Something like that. I don't know. It's kind of cringe, but I'm ironing out the kinks on that one.
I like it. I actually think that one's pretty good. So you at least get one approval. I'm sure that Mazel will appreciate that as well. But thank you so much for coming on, JJ. Congratulations on picking up a win to close out the day. And good luck going into your series tomorrow.
Thank you.